Hello and welcome. My name is Malia Lim. I am here to help women in STEM be confident leaders. And I'm whispering because my baby's sleeping upstairs. So hopefully you guys can hear this okay. But um, March is Women's History Month. So I am going to be using this month to answer some career questions. I recently spoke at USC. I don't know if you SC, yeah. I spoke at USC, and after the keynote, the women who attended submitted some career questions as well as questions in regards to what we covered, which was imposter syndrome. So I am going to be answering some of those questions for you today, at least until the baby wakes up. And feel free to comment questions or connect with me on LinkedIn and ask me any of your pressing career questions. I'm here to help. If you don't already follow me on LinkedIn, follow me there, subscribe to my newsletter. All of that stuff is in the comments or in the description here. So let's pull up some of these questions. How do you ask questions in class when you're trying to jot down notes? Okay, so one of the methods that I went over during our session on imposter syndrome is speaking 3 times while you're in class. And this is a method that I started as an undergrad and I continue to encourage my clients to do when I do career coaching. And what it does is it sharpens your cognitive ability to follow complex topics in real time in an engaging way, so that you can ask questions. So like you're processing it enough to be able to question things, to make sure that you're clear on things, to ask insightful things. Well, what about this or what about that? Right. And I started in undergrad, and today, as a principal mechanical engineer, I am very engaged in meetings. Like I often am setting the tone for the room and holding my peers accountable. And I'm like, wait, hold on. Didn't we talk about this? Or, well, how does that change impact this and all of that? So it is a skill set that I see often women in STEM, especially engineering, struggling with, is speaking up, is being heard, is being valued when they enter the room, because oftentimes they're so quiet, they don't talk. I literally had a client that would get spoken over, like someone would speak over her. She started implementing this, and that stopped immediately. And I also see that women will feel like they can't talk during meetings because they're scared to like be seen as like not so smart, or like they don't know what they're talking about. And so they'll go back to their office and like look up information and then come back and say something later, but the moment has passed. Like we as professionals in general need to be engaging and need to help move the conversation towards a more productive and innovative direction in those moments, in those rooms. And so this is one of the methods that I described in my keynote at USC when we were talking about imposter syndrome. And so this question is asking, how do you ask questions in class when you're trying to jot down notes? So one of the books that I read in undergrad was Guaranteed 4.0, and it talks about like BPN, like bullet point notes. And it's like very shorthand notes on how to take very shorthand notes. And it also says that like right immediately after class, you need to take notes again or like review your notes or whatever. And so I started implementing that because, yeah, it is kind of challenging to be sitting there, engaging, asking questions, and writing down the notes that you need to be able to do the homework later. So that book, Guaranteed 4.0, kind of taught me like a shorthand method to be able to take notes. And I do it today. Even still, I take bullet points during my meetings. And if you read them, you might not understand them, but I know what they say. So that's what I would recommend for any student who is trying to implement this method while they're in undergrad, while they're in school. That is a really good book. And just in general, like it is a clear-cut method on how to be successful in school. Like I graduated top of my class in undergrad and graduate, and I followed those methods in that book. So definitely check that out. Okay. So our next question says, how do you grow when you feel like others might be keeping you down? So this is definitely something that I see often for women. It's happened to myself. It's happened to some of my coaching clients, is that people are not always for you. They're not always going to provide a very inclusive space. They might even try to create an exclusive space. And it can be quite difficult to kind of put yourself out there, to try new things, to maintain confidence in those spaces. And so I think it starts with a little bit of recognizing that that is what's happening first, and growing outside of those spaces. You cannot control everywhere, and you cannot expect every single room and every single table to be that serves you, and it's okay. This is just life, guys. So I would say that we need to we need to take advantage of the opportunities that we have, like full advantage when we have them. Don't hold back, because there may be seasons that the rooms are not so inviting. There may be seasons or spaces where you are not able to put your best foot forward because other people are kind of standing in the way. Also, it's important to take full advantage of opportunities when they come, because as women, we are tasked with creating life. And, yes, guys have paternity leave and they do take some time off, a few weeks, but our bodies really go through it and our minds really go through it. And it is to me, I think that's like a 2-year window where you're not going to fully be able to put the pedal to the metal in your career the same way as even your husband, who might be having the same child as you. You know what I mean? And so I think it's important to kind of really step up to the plate when you know that those spaces are cultivating you and growing you. And when you realize that maybe they're not, find other spaces. So, for example, early in my career, I wanted to be part of capital projects, which means like $1 million projects. But I was told that to be considered for those teams, like slots on those teams, you have to have 5 to 10 years experience. And I started at Chevron, which makes sense because they're a huge company. A lot of people want those high visibility, very exciting opportunities. Like, you learn a lot, you get a lot of authority. It's very appealing to pretty much everybody. So there was a line. And so I was like, okay, well, if I'm not going to be considered for multiple years, what can I do to prepare myself so that when that day comes, I'm the obvious choice? Like, I'm undeniably the one who should be picked. And so I picked up a technical specialty, and that allowed me to actually support capital projects through my technical specialty. I got my PE license, my professional engineer's license, because as a technical specialist, all of my peers had their PE license. And so I was like, if this is the avenue that I'm choosing to get access to these capital projects, I need to make sure that I meet those qualifications as well. So I got my PE license, which happens outside of work. And then I also went to USC and got my master's in engineering management, because even as a engineer on these $1 million projects, you need to understand the management process of these huge projects. You need to understand how your work intertwines with the overall project and be kind of like on top of it in order to contribute, in order to be responsive quickly, and even lead them one day, right? Which is ultimately what I kind of do now and at various seasons of my career. And so that's what I did outside of the actual day-to-day job, because in the day-to-day, they were like, well, you have to wait, and which made perfect sense. But I was like, well, how do I still grow so that when that moment comes, I'm ready? And so I had to find it outside of work. And so sometimes that is the case. So make sure that when you're going after credentials and you're going after things that are outside of your day-to-day job, that they are within your plan. I had always planned to go into, multi-million dollar projects. I had always planned to bring my technical specialty to these projects that needed it. Oh, is baby up? No, she's still sleeping. um, and so that's why it made sense that like I had an end goal, and so the steps in between became very clear to me. And then I met my husband and ended up moving away from Chevron. But the next role that I got, well, 2 roles later, I was the global engineering specialist for a petrochemical manufacturing company in the capital projects group. So not only was I in the capital projects group running capital projects and being the engineer on capital projects, but I sat as the global engineer, overseeing the mechanical integrity programs for the entire organization. And that was because I was growing in outside of work in spaces that I needed to be able to grow so that I could become the professional that I wanted to be. So yeah, sometimes it could be a particular person, sometimes it's the nature of the business, but if it's not in your cards, make sure you're clear on where you're trying to go and what steps will get you there. If you can't access it in the room that you're in, go find another one. One of my kind of mantras is when the door is closed, I go find a window. Okay. All right. So next question. I'm loving these questions that I got from the attendees at this keynote speech at USC. By the way, if you guys are looking for a workshop to come to your organization or a speech or even a full-blown leadership acceleration program, I offer all of those through my company, Savvy Lead Her. So just message me on LinkedIn or comment here on YouTube. YouTube is new for me, but subscribe, follow, share, and all those good things. Okay, so next question. How do you get positive? Well, hold on. Eyes or notice that you're okay, so I think it's how do you get positive when you realize or notice you are starting to have self-doubts? So that's a very good question. And a lot of what I spoke about that day was about confidence and like building a confidence muscle. And self-doubt is a symptom or symptom of imposter syndrome, right? Like you're doubting yourself, you're scared that other people are going to realize like maybe you're not up to the par or whatever the case may be. Um, so staying positive when I realize that I'm having self-doubt, I have a few ways. One of them is mirror affirmations. I'll get in the mirror and I will just be my hype woman, like Flavor Flav in the mirror, like you are the best and bow, 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 all those things. I do mirror affirmations pretty regularly. I also keep a brag book, which is next to my bed. And every night I will write like something that I'm proud of myself for doing. And these are like not in the moment when I notice self-doubt. Well, mirror affirmations can be, but the brag book is kind of like a preventative maintenance, so to speak. And the mirror affirmations can be both in the moment as well as preventative of self-doubt while building your confidence. I also I have a box, a brag box, and it's like a bin where I keep kind of like symbols of my accomplishments. So this can be my graduation caps, diplomas, pictures of me at some of the projects I'm really proud of, right? I display my hard hats. I keep physical representations of my accomplishments because in those moments of self-doubt, when I can open a box and kind of like rummage through my random collection, like the Little Mermaid Ariel, right? I'm like rummaging through my collection of things and I'm just like, yes, I did that. Yes, like I was top of my class. Yes, I did have a 4.0. Yes, I did do this really hard project that other people were scared to take on. Yes, I did revamp this whole system. Yes, I did land this job. Yes, I did give birth to a baby girl. Yes, I did do these things. And that just reminds me of of how not only that I'm capable, but it puts me back in those moments where I felt like I could do anything, right? When I graduated from USC, or when I had my daughter, or when like I revamped programs, like whatever it was, in those moments I felt like I could do anything, right? Like I literally felt like invincible, like, oh my gosh, I can do anything that I set my mind to. And I felt that way. I truly believed it to my core. And so in those moments where I'm just like kind of feeling low, kind of feeling like, maybe not self-doubt personally, but maybe just feeling like not on top of my game, or like I'm stumbling a little bit, I will go and open that box and I will physically touch those things. And it kind of puts me back into that emotional place of feeling like I can do anything, of conquering, of, yes, anything I set my mind to, I can do it. I know I can because I've done it before and I've felt this feeling, and it brings it back, and it allows that muscle memory, almost like an emotional muscle memory, to come back. And that like just pushes out the self-doubt. It just pushes out um any kind of like lingering feelings that I might not be up to my personal standard of that I like to keep myself. So in addition to the brag book, which we talked about in the keynote, and the mirror affirmations, which we also talked about in the keynote, the brag box is one. And that's like like, to me, being able to touch those things and see them, and like put on my cap and go do my mirror affirmation. Yeah, sometimes I will put my graduation cap back on and I will go in the mirror and I'll just be like, yes, 4.0, baby, in one of the top 10 universities in the world. I did that, right? Sometimes you got to put your armor on and you need a box to hold it somewhere. So that's one of the things that I do whenever I feel like I need a super boost. I hope that helps you. And I hope you start a box, your brag box. Okay. Were there times where you felt doubtful of your habits? So one of the things that we talked about in the keynote is habits. I'm not going to go into the whole thing because I spent quite a bit of time on habits. It's kind of like my thing. But if you are not feeling strong in your habits, or feeling like you want to revamp your habits, go ahead, leave a comment, message me. I will do another video specifically just on habits if you'd like. But trust me, like, habits are my jam. Okay, so times where I'm feeling doubtful in my habits, yeah, there's definitely times where I feel doubtful in my. I mean, honestly, can I be honest with you guys? I feel doubtful in my habits right now. Like, I used to have really strong mornings, and there are seasons where my mornings are super productive and they're super amazing, and it like jump starts my day, and I'm like totally on top of my game. For the last like month, 2 months, we've been moving. I've had a sick toddler. I was preparing for this keynote late into the nights. Work has been like, they are getting every single ounce of that 40 hours a week. I'm tired and my body wants to rest. And so my mornings are not this incredibly, you know, kick-ass morning anymore. My mornings is me hitting the snooze button. And I every night, like, I go to sleep and I wish or I have the intention of waking up early and going through my wonderful morning routine. But to be honest, my body is telling me it's time to rest. And I have to be okay with seasons of resting, as well as seasons of productivity, as well as seasons of seasons. That's why there's seasons, right? And so, yeah, to be honest, I feel a little doubtful in that, but I know that I'm capable. And when times do call for me to step up and take action, I will be able, like, I've done it plenty of times before. I can do it again. Maybe I just don't feel that pressure. Maybe I don't feel like I needed to, like procrastination is the best form of production, right? When I had the keynote, like I was on it. It was at night rather than in the morning, but every single night I was practicing, I was preparing, I was getting things in order for that. And because I knew there was a date where I had to stand on stage. And if I didn't get my ducks in a row, I'd be standing on stage a mess. So just like when you have a flight and you're like, hey, I need to wake up early for my flight, you're not going to miss your flight that day because, right? So I think right now is just a season of rest for me and recalibration, which is why my body is probably like, let's just sleep and not do this. But yeah, there's definitely times where I feel doubtful in my habits, but I've broken and created new habits that like so many times that I know that my ability to do it is there. And so even if I'm not doing it right now, I'm not really like tripping about it. But if you're new to habits and you want to learn more about them, just like let me know and I'll do a video on habits because that is my jam. Even though right now I'm not doing that great, but it's okay. And I'm totally fine with that. And I think it's part of being a human and a person to be able to admit that. So, anywho. Okay, so we'll take one more question. And like, there's a lot of questions. So I think we'll do a few of these. And I also answer career questions on LinkedIn. If you don't follow me on LinkedIn, please connect with me. The link is somewhere down below. But I, Malia Lim, am on a mission to help women in STEM be confident leaders. That is science, technology, engineering, and any male-dominant industry. Because as women, we have so much to offer, but working in a man's world can be difficult. It can be intimidating. And there's a lot of soft skills that we as women have to work on. We have to do the work just to be able to do the work. And I want to be able to support you guys in that. And I have found that by working on myself, working on my confidence, working on my professionalism, my leadership, all of these things has helped propel my career forward. I got to places that people take 15, 20 years to get in like 5 years. And right now I'm a principal mechanical engineer for a carbon capture company. I'm crushing it. I'm crushing it. But guess what, ladies? Like, I don't have to be the unique story here. Like, we all can have amazing careers. And that's my mission, is to help other women come to the table because there's room, ladies. Okay. We don't have to make deals on golf courses. We can do it in the nail salon. Come on. All right. So last question for us. And then I'm going to run, but we'll do this again. So make sure you subscribe. How do you build confidence through job rejection and keep going? Oh my gosh. Can I tell you guys a quick story? So like when I moved to New Jersey to be with my husband, well, my now husband, I was like, I started applying for jobs and there was this one job in particular. It was in Manhattan. And so like I was in New Jersey, I had to like get on the train, which I'm from California, like Southern California. So getting on the train and all that was like in and of itself a whole thing. But I would get on the train and I would get all dressed up and I would go to this office to do interviews. And I went to like 2 interviews and then they called me back and they were like, oh, come to the office. And I was like, okay, yeah, that sounds like good news, right? Y'all, they literally called me to the office to tell me they weren't going to give me the job. I'm like, I was so like, because you could have just told me that with an email. You could have told me that with a phone call. Like, why did you make me pay money and get on a bus and a train to come all the way into Manhattan to tell me you're not going to give me the job? Like, I feel like they were just kind of making fun of me. Like they wanted to have a good laugh or something. And so I just like, first of all, was shocked in the moment. But at that point, I had already been building up my confidence muscle. I was enrolled in USC at the time. I had a PE license. I had been doing amazing at Chevron. So like I knew that I was an amazing employee. And so I was more confused. I was like, what is happening? Um, and so I was just like, okay, well, this really could have been a phone call, but thanks. And I just laughed. I'm just like, you guys are not gonna have me cry in your office. Like, what kind of childish, like, I don't want to work for like a company that does this. Like, I don't know what kind of weird things you guys got going on, but thanks for saving me a lot of headache and trucking through public transportation in the snow to come to this goofy office where you all are super immature. Like, um, that was like it was like so in your face rejection. And it was honestly shocking. Most of the time when I've ever faced like blatant bias and rejection or macro aggressions, I usually am just like confused. But because I focus on building my confidence muscle all of the time, I'm usually just like, this is a reflection of you. Like, it's not a reflection of me, right? So like, okay, well, thanks for your time, and I hope you guys figure it out, because that sounds like a you problem. I guess I'm gonna go now. And then I like stopped by Bloomingdale's and got myself some fancy things and went home. Other times that I've faced like bias and stuff at work, I'm just like, okay, well, I will use this as an opportunity to inform you that you're now on the Malia show and I'm amazing. And this boom, 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 XYZ. I'm in charge of these things. And this is the work that I've been doing. So I realize that maybe you don't know, because that's why you sound so off about the way that you're speaking to me. But I'm happy to let you know. So like, I usually turn those moments over into opportunities for me to shine. And I just, beyond being shocked in the moment, I usually recognize them as like, that's a them problem. It's not a me problem, because I know who I am and I know what I'm capable of and what I bring to the table. And I know that to my core, because I practice those confidence methods that we went over during the keynote, that I shared with the ladies that day. And so I hope that if you were there, that you're really taking heart and you're going to be doing those methods, because that's what's allowed me to just like push through and instantly recognize that it's not about me. It's a reflection of them, because I know who I am and what I bring, because I regularly work on my confidence through the methods that I spoke about that day. So, good question. And it's a muscle. It can be built. Okay. So even if you don't feel confident today, it can be built. And that's the good news. Okay. Baby is up. I'm going to go. But subscribe. And if you felt like anything in this video has helped you today, share it with 2 or 3 other ladies. I am on a mission to help women in STEM be confident leaders. And, baby's up talking. I'm on a mission to help women in STEM be confident leaders. And if you're looking for a speaker, a workshop, or a full-blown leadership acceleration program, feel free to reach out to me. If you want to work with me directly, feel free to reach out to me. You can visit my website. I have some complimentary, meaning free, career resources, and definitely follow my newsletter on LinkedIn. That's where you will get some up-to-date stuff as well as career tips, and know whenever we're doing events. My next masterclass is going to be on networking to land that job, because submitting your application nowadays is not enough. We need to network. And so that's what I help my clients with, and I want to help you too. So until next time, y'all, I hope you have a wonderful day. Cheers to amazing careers. Stay savvy. How do we end this? This is my first one, guys. Here we go. Stay savvy.